Boom.
What up?
Hello, everybody.
We're here, and we're not going nowhere.
We ain't going anywhere.
So, listen, Christmas is coming up, and what better to get your friends than the Jack Hawk 9000?
What is that?
That's that knife that Will Ferrell was trying to sell in the outtakes of Talladega Nights.
The Jack Hawk 9000?
Yeah, it's a huge knife.
A machete style?
Yeah.
Rambo?
Or you could go for a little Go Guru.
Go Guru. That's an even
what
better
you should
one.
get your family and friends, or a ticket to Medicare Con.
You can have all of them a user account in Go Guru.
That's right. Listen, guys, we're on here and we're ready to hit it up, talk to you guys. I want to see some comments about what you guys are going to do over Christmas. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to eat food, be merry, not like a lady named Mary, even though that's acceptable. I'm just going to be Mary, Merry. And the whole time I'm going to be thinking about how can we help more Medicare beneficiaries and increase our residual income in doing so.
How can we help more in 2022 than we did in 2021?
Infinitely more.
Infinitely.
Infinitely.
We are on a mission to help 1 million.
We are on a mission to help 1 million, which is getting like we may have to change the million to more because, I mean, what are we on track for 70 plus million Medicare beneficiaries in the next couple of years?
So we want all of them.
I'm not stingy. A third. I could do a third.
We'll leave a few for you guys.
Yeah, a few. Or join us in our mission to help 1/3 of all the Medicare beneficiaries. How did you guys settle on a third? We like number 33, Scottie Pippen.
33-degree Masons.
Yeah, exactly. So, listen, we've been working diligently to create an ecosystem for our team, and the amount of things that it's able to do. We were going through in our morning meeting this morning, our weekly morning meeting. After this weekend, I was going through pending policy reports and auditing things to find so many opportunities, within this data that I'm just like feeling really bad for people that have not gotten a sophisticated lead nurturing system and CRM to be able to figure out how to close more deals and salvage more cross sales and additional opportunities from the data on the back end. So in the comments, I would really like for you guys to let me know what CRM you are using right now. Just put it in the comments.
There's a lot of them out there. I'm surprised at how many people are using CRMs that are not focused towards a specific industry or specific niche.
Mm-hmm.
How many are just custom, Zoho or
right, VanillaSoft, Salesforce.
There was one I was using, Bitrix. It was completely free.
That's some Steven stuff right there.
It was completely free, open source.
Free, open source. Sounds very Steven.
You have to be like me. I think I've only run into one other person that's ever thought about using it. Guess who it was?
Jason Denniston.
You're exactly right.
We have a joke here in the office about Jason Denniston. If we don't know how to do something, we assume Jason Denniston knows how to do it.
Shout out Jason Denniston.
Yeah. Clap Jason Denniston. He's a figurer-outer. So,
and we see some comments coming in, guys. If you want to share your name so we can display your comments, head over to StreamYard.com/Facebook to authorize the use of your photo and your name. Just do it one time, and we'll be able to see your comments forever. StreamYard.com/Facebook. Just put that in the comments. Go over there, leave us a comment. We'll promote or feature your comment, rather, right here on the live stream. So just testing some new things out. As you can see, we got all fancy here with it, and we're just trying to learn how to give you guys better user experience on all the platforms combined, because the more engagement you give us, the better the streams, the better the conversation seems to go.
Absolutely. So Johnny just got back from visiting our friends down under, like down under our state in Florida, and he came back and he won't stop saying the real. Like he keeps calling himself the real.
I'm thinking he just like not completed his sentences.
It's just incomplete sentences. Mr. Ryan Lodi and Eric DeJean have him saying it, and he's saying it so much so that he just hit on a girl by asking her if she was the real. Somehow that worked. I don't really get that.
She responded.
She responded that she is the real. So might be a match made in heaven. So if you're the real, or if you know what they're talking about, you can please put that in the comments. I see some responses to our CRM coming in: agency block, high level, pipe drive.
That's a new one.
Who has a CRM provided by their upline?
Yes, that's a good question. How many of you are getting your CRM software free courtesy of your upline?
Mm-hmm. Who that?
Who that be?
Who that think they gonna beat Lil Wayne?
And again, head over to StreamYard.com/Facebook so we can see who's commenting.
Yeah. So this week we've just been taking it easy, testing stuff, tweaking stuff, fixing things. Jeff hasn't. He's got a deadline out right now on a website.
Crucial deadlines.
A kick-ass website that he has been working on that we can't wait to show off. So, so we got Julie with a response. Oh, and she has authorized the use of her photo. How nice of Julie. So we've been spending some time tweaking these processes and getting ready for the new year. What is a lesson, Stephen, that you learned from this AEP?
Use your CRM all year.
All year, yes. So our number one Medicare Advantage agent and our top agent in the office, that's Justin Stark and Johnny Brock, in reverse order of the way I just described them, were two of probably the best at utilizing their CRM appropriately all year long, creating a huge opportunity, by having tons and tons of prospects in the chute for AEP.
I think it allows you to gear up and really get going all in pre-AEP, because you're identifying these prospects the entire year, and you're recording notes, recording the data, all the fact finding that you're doing. You're putting all that information into the CRM. So then when you do get an A&P and it is crunch time, you're not spending all your time doing all that. All you're doing is reviewing the information that you have gotten down, and then you're putting them in the best possible position. And most likely you've already identified that you couldn't rewrite their med sup, or you couldn't do something outside of the enrollment periods, that they were a client that you could most likely help during the AEP. And so again, you go into AEP full speed, and there's never really that a week or two to warm up. You have leads that you've identified that I need to go ahead and write them, so then I can focus on new business, people that I've never talked to, whether that's lead generation, through Facebook, direct mail, or whatever it may be.
So, Stephen, what Medicare plan would you take out if you were turning 65 today?
I would probably get on one of these MAPDs.
Yeah,
I'm a cheap old coot. I count pennies, and I would probably be on I would probably be on an MAPD.
Yeah.
I will throw this in there. Knowing what I know, I would highly consider a lasso plan.
Yeah.
An MSA.
Yep. Yeah, I would too.
That may not be the popular opinion, but
no, it probably will be actually among a lot of people. I would even consider an MA only with the enhanced benefits. I have the VA to fall back on prescriptions, but even if I didn't, knowing what I know on how to navigate prescription drug costs, with 340B programs and, filling out financial assistance paperwork for people who even make good incomes, as well as I have the VA to fall back on if none of that worked.
That's pretty good. I mean, you being the person that you are, knowing everything that you know, having access to the VA, and you would still choose an MA only plan to give you a little bit more freedom, so you can use a little bit more robust network of doctors or the VA.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting.
Yeah. And I would consider getting a Plan G or a Plan N just from the not having to worry about it side.
Yeah, if we're looking at MedSup, the high deductible variation of the G,
Yep. Look at him.
or even the N. The N would be a good one.
Him, Bitrix, Jason Denniston with their lasso plans and their high deductible Gs. I wouldn't do that because I don't want to promote that plan too much.
No, that's one you write on yourself only. You don't write it on clients.
Yeah, my favorite clients are the ones that call me and be like, I need to enroll in a high deductible plan.
If you
I'm
decide,
not even trying to talk them out of that because I'm like, I know they already know.
I was about to say, if you decide that you are going to pitch somebody on a high deductible G or F, whatever it is, you better be prepared to have a presentation that you're going over thoroughly, because nobody's going to understand that. Like,
yeah,
in
most
that
of them,
30-minute presentation.
Your common clients just don't. We can explain it well, and that's why, like, if I phrase the question, what plan would you write your mother, and I'll tell you my answer, it'd be a Plan N or a Plan G. Now, why is that? I don't want to hear my mom whining to me about why her doctor didn't take Lasso or her Medicare Advantage plan.
Right, or how she can't go to the skilled nursing facility.
See, if I had an MAPD and I had a skilled nursing issue like that, I'd be like, listen, lady, refile it. It will work. You're being goofy. But my mom would be like, they said, and I know this because I have one grandmother that we had on a Plan F. I actually had both grandmothers on a Plan F. And then my one grandmother, her friend Yvonne, had a Humana PPO. And it was like a $59 PPO MAPD in Mississippi. Is not a great market for MAPDs at the time. And, $6,700 maximum out of pocket. And I told her, I was like, you need to keep your Plan F, Mama. You can afford it. Just keep it. She says, Yvonne loves her Humana plan. It's like, Yvonne doesn't know what to compare that to. Well, she twists my arm, and she basically tells me she's going to change regardless. So I changed her to the Humana PPO. And I think the next AEP, and by the way, just for the sake of the trial right question, she had already had a Medicare Advantage plan from when she first went on Medicare, when she lived further away from us and didn't listen to me about the stuff. I think it was before my grandmother's like in her later 80s now. So this before she got it, before I even was in Medicare, right? So she has no trial right. And she goes back to, she gets on the PPO. The hospital quits even filing it. Even though it's a PPO, they refuse to file it. She's in a rural area. There's not a lot of hospital options. So then we have to get her back on a supplement. And the only thing I could get her was substandard or level 2 rates for the ARP. It was really expensive. Eventually, she moves to North Carolina. She's in the Charlotte area. I put her on an Aetna PPO because at that point, I think, she'd be better off than paying this $330 a month supplement premium, and put her on the Aetna PPO. And she ends up going through some of the skilled nursing rehabilitation stuff, and they kept selling her stuff. And then my aunts are calling, and my mom's calling me about it, and they don't understand it. And they're just telling me, oh, the doctor's saying blah, blah, blah. And so, again, I'd put myself on an MAPD, but I would not put my mother on one because I've already seen what my grandmother did on one, and it's really annoying to have to explain it to them.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about our grandmother, mine, I tried to get her on a MedSup when she was eligible to get on a MedSup. At the time when I first started selling Medicare, she was visiting a doctor that had been around for a long time, and he didn't have her on a whole lot of medications because I don't think she's not that unhealthy. So she was only taking 1 or 2 medications. I tried to get her to take out a MedSup, but again, she's that stubborn old coot too as well. She counting her pennies. She doesn't want to spend money unnecessarily. And so she opted for the 0 premium Aetna Freedom PPO. Which she's been happy with. She's loved it. Her only quarrel was the physical therapy copay that she had to do. She fell and hurt her shoulder, had to go to physical therapy 2 or 3 times a week for 6 or 7 months. And I mean, when you're paying, a $20 copay, it starts to add up a little bit. That was her only complaint about it. But it's been good besides that. But yes, if I could pick one out for my grandmother for the same reason, the ease of use, that they're not going to come back to me as mad on the MedSup as she would be on her PPO when she goes to the doctor and has a hospital stay. So
Yeah.
That's funny it worked out like that, because
Looks like Julie says, that's what I said. Until a healthy client of mine had a stroke and couldn't get approved to go to a brain recovery center from her MAPD. Well, I do believe that there would be stroke units, stroke wards that would be in any Medicare Advantage plans network. It's probably a specific group that she couldn't get approved to based on the medical data they were using. And those are circumstances that we see with Medicare Advantage where they actually are probably interpreting Medicare's rules to the T as to how they can, prevent unnecessary claims. Medicare itself has always been extremely laissez-faire in that. They don't seem to really protect themselves from fraud, waste, and abuse at all, and kind of let doctors get away with murder or be lazy in the way that they file paperwork. And, we love doctors, but, they're not going to do paperwork they don't have to. So when they get used to Medicare only, sometimes they won't work extra hard to get something else approved. And that can make us look bad. It could, make the client angry, and it can be a health issue. So if you look at MedSup versus Medicare Advantage and those isolated circumstances, of course the Medicare supplement would go better for them. But it's hard to base an overarching or overall decision on what's better for somebody based on like circumstantial, situations, or what do you call it? Anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
So I would still say Medicare Advantage for me would be, for me personally, especially me knowing how to navigate it. I do think there's a big problem with people getting on it and not knowing how to navigate it appropriately.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we're here for.
So,
and Julie, if she was in her trial right, I would have moved her back to a MedSup too in that circumstance.
oh yeah, there we go. That's that. So
absolutely,
good job. It's a good agent.
Boom.
Good move. So let's get to the title of this stream.
Merry Christmas.
No.
Oh.
Know your numbers.
Know your numbers.
What numbers do people need to know?
I think, there's all kinds of numbers. Calls per acquisition, calls per lead, lifetime value of a client.
Yes.
I do think it's very important to backwards engineer yourself into this. So if I know what my lifetime value is, that's important to know how much I want to spend to acquire someone. But then I also have to know how long can I float an investment to the time that I recoup my lifetime value, right? So maybe I'd rather know what is my immediate return, okay, and can I afford, right now we went for a long time with no advances because we could afford to eat money for a long time. Then we started scaling faster, and so we put some things on advance as well to help with that scaling. But to know what I'm going to get, on my a return on investment immediately, that's what I can spend so I'm not going, negative right away. Plus, I have some fixed operating costs I have to pay for somehow.
So you're talking about CPA, CPL, things like that. I know a lot of agents that I talk to that don't even start to get into them type of numbers and figures. At what point do you think cost per lead, cost of acquisition really needs to be focused on?
Depends on who you're talking to. If you're talking to just the individual guy that's like on YouTube and he's like, hey, insurance, that looks fun. I don't know who that guy is, but that's Justin Stark. And he gets into it. He's like, this looks like a medium for me to, put the pedal to the metal. If he's getting into it through that, he probably doesn't need to be overly concerned with that right away. It'd be more about, networking and spending time to acquire a client. And then maybe, trying to find a way to spend as little money as possible, because in the beginning, typically you don't have any money to, figure that stuff out. But then there's other people too. You have people, and we're talking to these people more and more, that have money from somewhere else. They've sold another business. They have private capital. They have another successful business they're trying to fund this endeavor with. Those people need to know to think about it right away. And so it just depends on who you're talking to. If most people watching this are probably going to be the type of people that are from the ground up or they're in an intermediate level. But if they're at an intermediate level and they really wanted to scale, and this is the trap, is that the individual agent comes in and thinks like a small individual agent because they have to, and they never stop thinking like a small individual.
Well, I see a lot of people focus on ROI. Like that's probably the biggest one, right? If you start talking about numbers with any agents, they always come to ROI, which is an important number when you're considering, what am I getting back on this particular endeavor, like whether that be direct mail or seminars or anything else that you're doing. So a lot of people focus on ROI. So you're saying to get even further into the CPA and CPL would be like,
yeah, it's so when you really get down into what does my lead cost, what does how many of those leads do I have to work through before I get a client? What am I? That would be your cost per acquisition. And so if my cost per acquisition is $300, but my net average back is $350, then I make $50 right away. And then the trail on the back end past my advance is, something I'm not even really considering in that, because I'm thinking, can I afford day one to do this? I have fixed costs, I have office space, I have errors and emissions insurance, I have staff, all these different things, whatever that is,
all of them have to go into that.
Yeah. And so some of these, big groups, I've seen them get up in the 600, 700, 800, 900 calls to acquire a client. But now we're seeing some of those figure out ways through telemarketing and other things to get that number down to 330, 350 calls to acquire a client. So those would be important to really understand what your ROI is, and it'd be very important to understand what your it would be very important to understand what your lifetime value of a client is too, because we're not going to spend $300 to make $50. But if we can spend $300 to make $50, the 50 is going towards our fixed costs, and then so basically we're breaking even in the first year, then the profit margins will back in. So you have to understand the lifetime value. When so many people focus on their marketing budget being based off their advance and not really worrying about the renewals, you have to understand the renewals so that you're okay with spending your entire advance on the acquisition.
And so do you think that the lifetime value of the client, that varies for every agency?
Yeah.
Or would you say that figure's pretty much, about the same?
It's extremely variable.
Okay.
The largest call centers, I think, are reporting, average 3 and 4 year persistency on their clients, or average 3 and 4 year, keeping a client active. We're seeing much longer than that. So, I firmly believe that the future of our industry right now is localized resource hubs that double as, call centers that focus on that area. So what do I mean? Like, a brick and mortar shop where people can come and go, but where they also practice, advanced algorithmic telephonic communication. So they're developing leads, they're warming leads with text automation and an evolving automation process to make sure keeping up with what the current trends are, but being able to help people over the phone, right, so that they can double as both of those things. These national call center concept, I think, in the long run, and I've talked to people that have vested interest in large call centers that agree with what I'm saying, because the internet, and I'm talking Google, Facebook, they already know that their user experience is starting to demand that they aren't hoard out too much to, national top-level distribution channels, whether it's retail, insurance, anything, any kind of service industry or retail industry. They want to be taken care of at local levels. And so when those algorithms and those search engines start sending them back to people, locally, that's going to be a big, burden. But it's also just the consumer wants that. They recognize that they want it. And so we should recognize that they want it as well. And they do. They do want that. And I can promise you, because we've developed, some of that. We're purchasing one of those in another market, and the localized resource center is, the persistency in the long term, their ability to keep their clients is huge.
Yeah.
So that lifetime value of a client with them is, double or triple what it is at a national call center.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting when we were on the stream last week or the week before. Someone threw the figures up there. What the average income would be off of a MedSup plus PDP sale after 6 years, and then what the MAPD would bring you after 6 years. And I don't know. I just never done the overall math on it. It was surprising how close them numbers are after an average of 6 years or so.
Yeah.
So to say, oh, well, I want to push MAPD because the income's better. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. Maybe the immediate income, for true ups might trump what you get off the MedSup.
I think if you look at it on a 6-year span too, the MedSup's going to be higher. And once you go past that, the MAPD can catch up. But then when you look at MAPD persistency being lower, that can offset it too. So there's so many factors in it that I don't really think, from our perspective, I'm biased at all, because I don't think monetarily it's any different. I see an agent in our office writes a MedSup, I'm just as excited as if I see they write an Advantage plan. I don't, from a monetary standpoint, and this is such a misnomer in the industry. Like, the consumers think that we're incentivized more heavily on the Advantage plans, and so they're saying that. But a lot of that's just because a lot of agents are being told to push that side because of the marketing dollar that their entity's getting. There's not any monetary advantage to you from a MedSup over Medicare Advantage, in my opinion, as an agent. So, and that's different if you're in a call center and you have one that says, hey, I'm paying you $10 per MedSup and $25 per MA. That's a different type of monetization. But if you're an independent agent and you're at street level, you're an independent agent, and the majority of LOA shops shouldn't be different. In our office, we have LOAs, and the way they're paid, it's virtually the same on Medicare Advantage and MedSup. Not much of a difference at all.
And that wasn't by design. It just turns out that way.
Turns out that when we're paying them a percentage of value to us, the percentage of value ends up being about the same.
Yeah. So, guys, we're about halfway through the show. We're just going to take a quick break, show you a little word from our sponsors here. We'll be right back, continue this Medicare chat. All right, guys, we're right back here. I'm Steven Martinez alongside my co-host Justin Brock, the Medicare guru. We're just talking a little bit of Medicare here, and we started getting into numbers. That's the title of this show, is Know Your Numbers. And so we were talking about ROI, CPL, CPA, lifetime value of the client. These are big numbers. A big reason we like the Go Guru platform that we use is because it does keep up with a lot of them numbers. So, like, we have certain lead pipelines, I guess, or lead sources, if you will. And so one of the big advantages of using a system like Go Guru specifically is you get to monitor all that. So if you've got your Facebook ad integration in Go Guru, and then you're running them leads straight from Facebook into the Go Guru platform, as you're dispositioning them, you're marking them as won or lost, abandoned, whatever it is, it's tracking all of that data in real time. And you can go to your dashboard, and on that dashboard, it's showing you your close ratio. And so to be able to monitor that per source is huge. And then you can do that per user or per agent. And you can really keep track of if especially if you're an upline and you're buying leads for a few downline agents.
Know that you're if I'm buying leads and I have a pace setter that's closing them at 17%, and then I have one that's closing them, I have my average agents are closing them at 9%, and I have one that's closing them at 6%. Well, we've got to figure out what the issue with this one is. Why are they closing at a lower percentage? And then the ones that are 9%, when they accept that as average, we can just show them what the guy at 17% is doing. It also is an indicator that if somebody's closing at a much higher pace, that they might be doing, you need to audit their process, because anything way higher than average or lower than average scares me. Higher than average even scares me because sometimes they're doing something wrong. Sometimes they're clean sheeting. They're not asking the right questions. They're not getting the scope at the right times. There's all these different things that could open you up to compliance issues, different things. So definitely a great way to do that. If you're giving away leads, you have to protect that investment, and you need to know your numbers. And so GoGuru does provide that. By the way, we have other on our podcast, other sponsors coming up first and second quarter. And, if you're interested in sponsoring the podcast and these live streams as well as part of our Insurance Gurus platform and Insurance Gurus podcast, please let us know. We're trying to, put out quality content, and we're open to working with partners that we would definitely endorse ourselves. So let us know.
Yes, for sure.
So,
yeah, I was going to mention though about the leads, and I mean, typically most places when you buy leads, you just get an Excel spreadsheet, and then you either pass that on down to an agent. The agent's color coding it, or bolding text, striking through text, or whatever his system is to keep up with it. And so having a platform that you can just dump them leads to and say, hey, go work these leads, and then you can actually track the rate at which they're working them, whether they're doing a good job in closing, and that helps you gauge whether or not, yes, I'm willing to purchase more leads for this individual agent, or no, maybe I need to take a step up, take it back a little bit and get with that agent, provide a little bit more hands-on training so they are closing these leads at a higher ratio. So I think that's huge, especially for newer agents, kind of simplifying that process and saying, here's one login to manage all this.
We learned where a lot of agents are this AEP that we're not going to buy leads for in the future because they're just not working them, and they're not telling us to stop sending them or that they can't work them. So we've GoGuru was a huge help in that, knowing those numbers, knowing what their closing percentages were, knowing how many leads we sent them, how many sales we got, that kind of thing. So not got. How many sales did we got?
We got it a lot.
We got it a lot. It's and obviously the lead type, it helps you audit the lead as much as the agent, because if I do have a lead source that nobody's closing above 5%.
Right, I've got 5 agents and they're all shitty or not closing at a good ratio.
Yeah, then there might be a problem with the lead source.
Yeah,
we're always looking at what's the issue. Is it the follow ups? Is it the lead source itself? Is it the agent them or what is it? And what about the lead source is messed up?
And that's something that you have to constantly monitor. It's not something that we look at and like, okay, it's where we want it to be. Job's done. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's an ongoing number that's ever changing. I mean, because we're always starting new marketing. We're always taking our pedal off of something and trying to figure out where is our money best spent.
Yeah.
But I alluded to this in one of our last podcasts about one thing I really like about you is your willingness to test things. And you just, okay, I think it might work, but let's see if it'll work. Mm-hmm. And willing to throw your money at it to test that. A lot of people are just scared to do that because, I mean, you may not have a whole lot of money to play around with, so you're just kind of very picky with where you spend your money.
I'll tell you a trick to...
It's going to be hard to find what works when you're not spending a lot.
Yeah, I'll tell you a trick to be more okay with it. And there's still, different levels of people in this for sure. One trick is when you understand that no dollar in marketing was wasted if you had some branding element to it, then you're not as worried about it. So, even when I look at running a Facebook ad for reach to develop an inbound call, if I can't figure out whether I had inbound calls on it, some people will be like, oh, I can't tie it to a direct metric that I had. Well, I mean, as long as I know that my face and my brand and my, the correlation between that and insurance and their ability to call us or look us up or be more familiar with us in the future was impressed, X number of times for X dollars.
Well, the way I look at it is like how Facebook has it broke up, for example. You have brand awareness ads. I have post engagement ads. I have lead ads. Mm-hmm. Like, what is my goal for the campaign? Right. If I go throw up a billboard, like I might throw a phone number on there, but is my goal like the call to action and I'm going to track that call to action. But again, it's building brand awareness. So it's a billboard is multifaceted. You're going to have a call to action with a phone number, but then as long as I have my brand, my face, and my company on there,
Yep.
and people are driving up and down the highway, like then I'm fine with that because it's being seen and it's promoting that brand awareness. And so it may not be something that you can measure directly, but years of running a billboard along a highway where the same people drive by and most of the people are going to a company that's demographic or 40 to 50 years, like that will pay off long term for you because as soon as they get to Medicare or have any questions about Medicare, like I drove by this guy every day for the last 5 years.
If you've been around the Chicago area and gone in and out of Chicago, there's a group up there called Senior Insurance Services. Fred Uliot and some of his family, they run billboards like crazy on the highways going in and out of that town or in and out of that city. And, I think he would tell you, I've not talked to him directly about it, but I've been told, when he's had the conversation, he's not telling you to throw up billboards and it would work, right away. But him spending 16 to 20,000 plus a month for years, it's working fabulously now. And that's just the branding thing that the more, I was on a podcast. I don't know if it's aired yet. It was Insurance Dudes, I believe. Probably airing the beginning of January. But in the podcast, we talked about how, that people should start hedging a portion of their marketing budget to go towards branding concepts as soon as possible, because branding is huge and it's so slept on.
Yeah. Well, lawyers do a really good job at it.
Lawyers love billboards.
Yeah. Or
and TV
who's the
ads.
PNC guy that tells you to throw your billboard up 5, 6, 7 in a row, like every one of them? He's real big in like South Alabama, Florida area.
You talking about the lawyer?
No, he's a PNC guy, property, and he actually runs like events. Kind of like the behind the agency where he'll bring other PNC guys in and he tells them like how to market, how to run his billboard campaigns.
There's a guy
I can't
named
think of his name.
Alexander Shunara, and he's a lawyer, and I think he's in Alabama, but he apparently holds the record nationally for spending like money on billboards.
It's a good record to have.
And he'll have like 3 or 4 in a row. I mean, like
that may be him then.
Sometimes it'll have 2 billboards right on top of each other, and he got both of them. And then like 100 yards behind that, there's another billboard, and he's got it. But it makes you think, wow, that guy's got 3 billboards, and otherwise I might not even notice it. Another one, when I was in Nashville, there's a real estate guy there, Mark Spain, I believe, and he says he guarantees your house will sell right away, or he'll buy it, or something like that.
It's a good promise.
And
I'd use him.
He's apparently raking it in. I mean, he's all over there. He's got this really good looking, slick billboard. And that's another thing, when you're using a billboard or any multimedia ad, newspaper, any of that, the less text, the better. It's like a YouTube thumbnail. You want it to be something, boom, got your attention, that converts, because you don't, but brands. So if I see a lot of people afraid to put themselves on their brand, and then they'll have like somebody that works for them or something doing all their branding. That scares me to like have that, because there's facial branding, there's location branding, there's phone number branding, there's logo branding, there's name itself branding. Yeah. All of that stuff can be branded by psychological repetition and memory from the people that are watching it. So it scares me a little bit to not be involved to some degree. Not that I wouldn't have people that work for me on commercials or on things that we do, but to just completely put it out to, like, I can think of several people that I know that run big agencies that they'll have one lady that works for them that does all their videos, but she's not like all that married to the business. Like, she just did the videos, or sometimes they'll hire like private actors to do it. I don't get that. If you got a brand as big as Humana, you can throw your little actor on your infomercials 24 hours a day and still probably convert stuff. But most people, you really need to have a brand that you can make yourself synonymous with the expert of your field.
Yeah. What about the guy that put the billboard upside down?
Yeah, I've seen that as a tactic. I had a friend that did it. I texted him, and he said that, Steven, that's one hell of a shirt.
Well, thank you, Facebook user. I'm going to promote that.
Facebook user, head over to StreamYard.com/Facebook to make your Facebook profile picture
Show us your face.
shareable so we know who you are.
Quit hiding behind the internet.
Yeah.
Keyboard warrior.
This isn't insuranceforums.com. So you can be insurance guy 72.
Yeah.
Uh,
Stud Muffin 34.
Insurance stud. So yeah. So there's just a ton of different ways to market yourself, but branding, always be branding is something we always preach. Everything works a little, nothing works a lot. And if you are, put billboards in Enterprise, Alabama, I'm assuming if you're in Enterprise,
That's the guy I was talking about, I think.
yeah, if you're in Enterprise, Alabama, yeah, I don't know about Enterprise. I can't think. When we go through Alabama, we see Alexander Schooner everywhere. And then there's the guys, what is it, Morgan and Morgan?
Yeah, the law. Yeah.
They're like supposedly the nation's largest law firm, and they say, what is it they say? They say
For the people.
Size matters.
Oh, yeah.
They have a billboard that says size matters.
You got a couple of them like that. Morgan and Morgan. What's the other guy?
You know who notices billboards?
People that buy billboards.
People that buy business owners notice billboards. I never noticed them until I started buying some of them.
I mean, like that was one of the first things I did when I come on board, and you guys supported me in that. I was like, threw up a billboard, and it was just amazing at the amount of people that didn't directly call me off of it, but when you see them, seen you on the billboard. Hey, I seen you on the billboard. Oh, so you're that big wig. You got a billboard and down there. And I'm like, I'm just trying to like build a little bit of brand awareness, trying to let everybody know what I do. Because at that point I was brand new, and it's like, yeah, I could go out there and yell on Facebook all day, but only so many people's on Facebook. If I throw up a billboard right in the middle of the town that I'm from, everybody that knows me is going to be like, hey, I haven't seen him in a while. And then when I do run into him, they mention it. And
or
like
when they need what you're talking about in there, they're thinking, man, Steven does that.
Yeah. Or, I mean, I shut off the billboard probably first of the year, and I've had people, I mean, just as recent as, 2 weeks ago say, hey, I seen you on the billboard, like the billboard hadn't been there in a year.
Yeah, they'll do that. I have people that would say, well, I read about y'all in the newspaper. We hadn't run a newspaper ad in 4 years. Probably.
Seen you in the journal.
Well, I heard about you on the radio. Did you? We don't run radio ads. Not against radio ads. But all advertising works, multimedia, everything. But when you're knowing your numbers, if you're really trying to scale something quick, you definitely want the core of your marketing budget being how can I get more people in?
Yeah.
And know what you know.
Yeah, well, I'd ask you about what point do you really start focusing on them numbers, because I think a lot of people, they don't even consider them, and then when they do start to consider them, it may be a little bit premature. I think, yeah, like you said, when you're really starting to scale, when you're really trying to grow something that you're trying to present to somebody else as like this is a thing of value, are you just going to show them like your bottom line and be like, yep, that's it?
Yeah.
No, they want to know the numbers, especially if they're investors and they're looking to get into what your product is, what your service is. They want to know that can be replicable, right? Yeah. And so they're not just going to turn it over based on your bottom line. They want to know, what is your CPA, what is your CPL, what is your lifetime value of the client, like what is the return that you're getting overall on these. So it's good to have them when you start to take that next step, take the scaling approach.
Another concept, when people are acquiring groups and they want to know net revenue and EBITDA, and they want to know what your processes are and all these different things. Anytime a business is bought, it's my belief that very difficult for me to actually believe, especially when it's 100% bought out, that it's as valuable to the people that bought it as it was the person that owned it originally. And so, it's crazy to see them, they ask about all those things, and then I've seen so many of them just let all that fall by the wayside once they own it and not really nurture it because they had no idea what they're really buying. They didn't really understand it. They're not in the trenches working those things. So it's something that from a value standpoint, we don't really, that's why I don't really entertain, now any kind of acquisitions or capital partners as much as I could stay away from it, because I don't really want to be beholden to anybody that doesn't understand my business and only has some sort of like private equity investment into it. For us, our business is worth a lot. We move very fast because when I think something's worth it, I'm saying, boom, I call the shots. Nobody else is calling them shots.
He's not scared to make a decision quick.
No, we're if we want to do something, we're doing it. We're going to try it. And we've made we've figured out some things that didn't work along the way. But we try things fast. And by trying things fast and figuring stuff out, we find things that do work. And we're not sitting there like, well, who signed off on that? Who signed off on that? Who signed off on that? Like when you get into these big enterprises, like everybody's so afraid to have their name on something that they signed off on it. For us, we don't have that problem. But we're moving as fast as I want to move, and I like to go fast.
And if you make that decision for him, he likes that too.
I like it when other people make decisions too.
You don't like making every single decision?
I don't want to make every decision.
You're the guy that writes the checks. You got to make all the decisions.
I don't want everybody to I don't even like figuring out where I'm going to lunch. Y'all just tell me where to go.
No, we do let you pick that out.
Amsterdam.
Every time.
Every time.
Leave it up to him. We're going to the same spot.
Amsterdam salad. Yeah. So, well, guys, we are going to wrap it up here soon. We are just, really testing our new toys and trying to get this information out here to you. We'd love for you to comment on here what you'd like us to talk about in future podcasts, who you'd like us to interview. We have 3 really solid interviews from some studs next week. We have
got some good ones coming up. Yep.
Brian Travers, who just commented on here, is going to be on here. We had
this guy right here.
Yep. We got Benji Crooms coming on next week.
I think Travers might have been the culprit of the T-shirt comment.
Oh, okay. Yep. Facebook user. And then we got Emily Trevino coming on.
Yeah, Emily Trevino.
So if you have a question that you'd like us to ask any of those peeps, they all have different skill sets. Benji's worked in the industry for a long time. He's worked for a lot of hierarchies. He's managed call centers. He's now out on his own, building his own thing. And he's just a great guy. Great time. Really, really fun guy. Valued partner of ours on the marketing side. Ryan Travers is very, very has made some big moves early on in the digital space with a little bit of digital marketing. And he's also been a great guy, great friend, good marketing partner of ours. Just an easy to get along with guy, down to earth.
Love Ryan. He's done some cool things with some referrals. I was talking to him about some referral things that he was doing. He's really ramping up on the referrals. It's kind of amazing. Yeah,
he's a sharp guy. He's not willing to try. Not afraid to try some things. Emily Trevino is coming on. Is killing it in the Medicare Advantage and ACA space, and has been in the industry for a while. Working
former carrier rep. Yeah, I think
so. She understands the carrier marketing side pretty well. Has told us some things that have helped us out. And so we're going to have them on and try to get them to spill all their secrets.
All of them.
So if you guys have any questions for those people, please put them in the comments. And we'll try to get those on there.
We just dropped Sandra Gebhardt podcast, just dropped yesterday. Yep. If you haven't listened to that, go check that out.
On YouTube, go in Google or YouTube Sandra Gebhardt, Justin Brock, or Sandra Gebhardt Insurance Gurus. Either one, you should be able to find it. And it's on the podcast platforms, the Apple Podcast or Spotify or just about any other ones. Google Podcasts. The only one we haven't really gotten on is Facebook Podcast right now. That one's a little bit new. We're trying to figure it out. I think they may be limiting who can be on there right now. But we're working on that so that we can be everywhere all the time. Branding.
That's right. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah. And stay tuned for this quick message about Go Guru. You want to check this out. Give kudos to Jacob for making this kick-ass video.